Hello students. So as we have already started with lesson number 7, National Movement 1919 to 1934, and we have done non-cooperation movement. Today we are going to start with civil disobedience movement. So let us start with this movement. First of all, reasons and circumstances leading to the civil disobedience movement means what was the reasons to start this movement. The circumstances that leading to civil disobedience movement was first reaction against the Simon Commission and anger born out of the death of Lala Lajpat Rai. As up to this we have already done that how Lala Lajpat Rai was died and what type of wrong things were done in Punjab. Then reaction against Simon Commission. When Simon Commission came in India, Indians were not ready to welcome this commission, and moreover Indians were very angry because of the death of Lala Lajpat Rai. So the Simon member means this Simon Commission was having 7 members. So those 7 members of the Simon Commission were all British. Not a single Indian person was a member of this commission. Moreover, commission's recommendations that the Viceroy's Executive Council could not be made responsible to central legislature, and the fatal blow inflicted on Lala Lajpat Rai filled the whole nation with great anger. So first thing was there that in this commission no Indian member was there, and second thing, the commission's recommendation was that the Viceroy's Executive Council that cannot be responsible to the central legislature. So Indians were not happy with this. And third thing, the death of Lala Lajpat Rai. So now Indians were very angry. So the civil disobedience movement and the demand for Purna Swaraj owed much to this emotional trouble. So due to distress, due to pain that was there filled in the hearts of Indians, it was the first and the main reason to start this civil disobedience movement, means not to avoid. Second is the Nehru Report. Nehru Report had declared that India's immediate objective should be the attainment of dominion status. So what is this dominion status? Dominion means a self-government or self-governing country, and which was part of the British Commonwealth. It means India will be a part of British Commonwealth, but it will govern by the citizen of own country, means government administration that will be run by Indians only it will continue as a part of British Commonwealth, like it was there in Canada. So Canada was an instance of a nation having dominion status. So already we were having the example as in Canada, same dominion status was there. It means Canada, government of Canada or administration of Canada was run by Canadian only, still it was under the British Commonwealth, means a part of British Commonwealth. Then the Congress at its Kolkata session resolved to launch a campaign of non-cooperation, including non-payment of taxes, if the Nehru Report was not accepted by 31st December 1929. So this was declared, if Nehru Report will not be accepted till time was given 31st December 1929, then they will launch a campaign of non-cooperation, and not only non-cooperation, including non-payment of taxes also. So already this was there. Then the Viceroy's declaration of October 1929. So already India was suffering due to many type of wrong laws or wrong things by the Britishers. Then it was the Viceroy's declaration. On 31st October 1929, the Viceroy, name of that Viceroy was Lord Irwin. So he made a declaration that, so what was there in that? The natural issue of India's constitutional progress is the attainment of dominion status. The Indian leaders felt happy at the Viceroy's thoughtful gesture. So, in the beginning, when this Lord Irwin made the declaration, and according to that declaration, he was with that dominion status, and Indians were happy that he is thinking about their demand. But very soon they were disappointed. Why they were disappointed? Because the British Parliament was in no mood to grant dominion status to India. Then Gandhi and other leaders met the Viceroy on 23rd December 1929. So this was the second reason that British Parliament was not ready to grant dominion status, as this was the demand of India according to the Nehru report. And last date was given 31st December 1929. So if they will accept that, then it is okay. Otherwise they will launch non-cooperation and non-payment movements. So as they didn't accept, so it was natural that they will start their movement. Then next one is Lahore session and the demand for Purna Swaraj, that is complete independence. So till the time they were asking about dominion status and that was not accepted. Now in Lahore session they started to demand for Purna Swaraj, complete independence. Congress leaders wanted a firm assurance as to granting of dominion status to India instead of giving any giving instead of giving any definite assurance. The Viceroy had only announced that a roundtable conference of all parties would be held in London to discuss the recommendations of the Simon Commission. So their demand was something else, but Viceroy was ready, or he just want to discuss about this issue only. He was inviting Indian all political party leaders for that roundtable conference that would be held in London. And the announcement fell short of the expectation of the Congress. At the Lahore session presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru in December 1929. So who presided over this Lahore session in 1929? The answer will be Jawaharlal Nehru. So in this, Congress passed resolution. What resolution Congress passed? And this, boycotting the roundtable conference, and it declared Purna Swaraj. So resolution was passed that they will not join this roundtable conference. They just boycott that roundtable conference. Now they declared Purna Swaraj, that is complete independence, as their goal. Means final goal was now Purna Swaraj only, and took steps to launch a program of civil disobedience. So finally they took a step towards this civil disobedience. And Purna Swaraj was celebrated all over India on 26 January 1930. So this is very important, that when our demands were not getting accepted by the Britishers and they were just talking about to join this roundtable conference only, then we declared Purna Swaraj before so many years of our independence. Okay, so Puran Swaraj was declared, and we launched one movement that is known as civil disobedience movement. And in the year of 1930, day was 26 January, first time, and all over India we celebrate Puran Swaraj, means we celebrated our Independence Day, first Independence Day on 26 January 1930, and civil disobedience was already declared. So this was the fourth. Now the fifth point is Gandhi 11 demands. On 30th January 1930, Mahatma Gandhi in a statement put forward 11 demands to correct the wrongs done to the Indians. So already one kind of group of demands were given by Mahatma Gandhi, and some of the demands were as follows. So from those particular few are given here. First is total prohibition, the reduction of land revenue, and the abolition of salt taxes. So these were the main demands. Gandhi issued the viceroy that he would withdraw civil disobedience on the government's acceptance of these demands. So Gandhi, according to Gandhi, if British government will ready to accept these 11 demands, then they are ready to withdraw their civil disobedience that was already declared. Then Gandhi's demands were declared to be unrealistic by the viceroy. But according to viceroy, Gandhi's these demands were unrealistic, means cannot be accepted. So when demands were not accepted, and according to Nehru report, dominion status was not given, and their demand of Puran Swaraj was there, and they declared their Puran Swaraj Day also, they celebrated that, and Gandhi's demand also not accepted. So finally that was already told by them that they will launch this movement. So they launched civil disobedience movement. So all these are the reasons, and simply we can say the circumstances that were responsible for this civil disobedience movement. So now let's start with this topic, the civil disobedience movement. First is the Dandi March. On 2nd March 1930, Gandhi wrote a long letter to the Viceroy communicating his decision to start the civil disobedience movement. On 12th March began Mahatma Gandhi's historic march from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. So that Dandi is a village on the Gujarat sea coast. So Gandhi already told what they people are going to start with on 2nd March, and finally on 12th March they started their historic march, and that historic march is known as Dandi March. Then 78 persons followed him. So with him 78 other persons were there, but as Gandhi advanced, others joined the party, and he reached Dandi on 5th April. On the morning of the 6th April, Gandhi violated the salt law. How Gandhi violated salt law? If question is there, he violated the salt law by picking up some salt left by the sea waves. And Gandhi's campaign against the salt law was a signal to disobey the government law. So as this movement is known as civil disobedience movement, so here they disobey salt law. So according to laws, Indians cannot make their own salt. So here when he pick salt that was left by the sea waves, with this he just violated the salt law, and this was the beginning of disobedience, means first rule that they disobey. Now the programs. Civil disobedience campaign involved, first thing, means under this civil disobedience campaign, first thing was defense of salt law, second boycott of liquor, third boycott of foreign clothes and British goods of all kinds, and fourth non-payment of taxes. So all these were included in that civil disobedience. Then civil disobedience movement was different from the non-cooperation movement in the way that it also involved non-payment of taxes and land revenue and violation of laws of different kinds. Means it was movement that was having more effects than the previous movement, that was a non-cooperation movement. So this civil disobedience movement is having more impact than the progress or course of the movement. Gandhi's march from village to village, covering a distance of nearly 200 miles, attracted serious attention of the people, and Gandhi had selected mainly salt laws at his target. So in the beginning of main was salt law, then knowing fully well that salt tax affected all sections of society, especially the poor, because this was the basic thing that on the daily basis required, and salt taxes were there, and the Indians don't want to give that kind of salt taxes, and they want to manufacture their own salt, so they just disobey that salt law. Then illegal manufacture of salt and violation of other laws took place on a grand scale. So illegal manufacture, because Indians were not allowed to manufacture their own salt, so this was illegal manufacturing. And in UP, Gujarat and Bengal, the farmers refused to pay land revenue also. And in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, people began to cut down timber, means from the forest areas, in defiance of the forest law. Means according to forest law, Indians cannot cut down the wood for their personal uses, so they started to cut timber. And in the northwest frontiers provinces, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, that is known as the Frontier Gandhi from here, who is known as the Frontier Gandhi. So Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who is known as the Frontier Gandhi, and he had organized a volunteer bridge that is known as Khudi Khidmat Gar, that is the servants of God. They were also called the red shirts, so these are also known as red shirts, and they started a fierce anti-government movement in various ways, including non-payment of taxes. Then thousands of women picked the shops selling foreign clothes, liquids, and Gandhi arrested on 4th May 1930. It means now entire India joined this movement, and finally Gandhi was arrested. And Jawaharlal Nehru, Madan Mohan Malviya, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, and other prominent leaders had already been arrested. So other prominent were already behind the walls. So this was the movement, and later on all prominent leaders were arrested. Now next topic is Gandhi Irwin Pact. So I think up to this there everything is clear, that reasons for the beginning of the civil disobedience movement was mainly the Simon Commission, as all 7 members were Indian and they are not ready to accept the demands, and Lala Lajpat Rai's death was there, and their demand was Puran Swaraj now, and according to Nehru's report, if the demands will not be accepted by 31st December, then they will launch this civil disobedience movement, and when it was not accepted, they started, and the Viceroy declaration was there, that was in favor of Indians, but British Parliament was not ready to accept that for the Dominion status. Then Lahore session, we declared our Puran Swaraj demand, and other thing was the Gandhi's 11 demands that were not accepted by the British government. So finally civil disobedience movement was launched, and it was launched by the Dandi March. That in this march they broke the first law, that was the salt law, and with this, when they just broke down the law, this civil disobedience movement practically came into force. Then under the program we have done, they started to boycott the British goods, British liquor, and they break down the salt laws, and non-payment of taxes were there, and land revenue they started not to pay, and they started to violate other different kind of laws. And then this movement was in progress. I think now everything is clear. So our next topic is Gandhi Irwin Pact and the second round table conference. So this we will discuss in our next video. Till the time, just watch this video properly and try to understand the topics. If any confusion, any doubt is there, you can message me, so that in our next video, for those particular pending topics, I can add that particular topic where you are having doubt, or I can clear your doubts only if you will let me know. Okay, till the time, thank you.